Fellas, General Langley, this man right here, the critique of Ibrahim Traoré, is in Kenya, and a lot of Kenyans are not happy at all. What's up, everybody? Hope you're doing good. It's a beautiful day. Thank you very much for stopping by. You new here? My name is Zack. You're welcome. We want you here. We want you to stay. We want you to come back tomorrow. There's no doubt about that. But before we get to that, please click on the button, subscribe so we can see each other every single day. Beautiful. We are in Africa. We talk mostly about Africa. Everything about the motherland, you are at the right place. Brother, we're here in Kenya. General Langley. Yes, General Langley. You certainly heard about him. He traveled to Kenya to go and discuss with people. And many Kenyans are not happy at all. Why did he go to Kenya? Langley attended the African Chief Defense Conference 2025 in Nairobi, hosted by Kenya, with military leaders from 42 African nations. So Langley went to attend this meeting of African Chief of Defense Forces. So the top generals and representatives of armies from 42 different countries met in Kenya. And Langley was there. Why was Langley there? Is he African? We're going to find out just now. What did Langley say? Langley praised the Kenya professionalism and its role as a regional security exporter, particularly in countering Al-Shabaab through the African Union transition. Very interesting. So Langley said good things about Kenya. Like, congratulations, Kenya, for exporting good things and fighting terrorism. Well, Kenya and America have a deal when it comes to counterterrorism. Did you know about that? Okay, we're going to talk about that just now. Let's continue. Who is General Langley? General Michael Langley is the first black 4-star general in the U.S. Marine Corps and commander of the U.S. Africa Command, AFRICOM, since August 2022. He has made several high-profile visits to Kenya to strengthen U.S.-Kenya military and security cooperation. So who is he? He is the commander of AFRICOM. I'm sure you heard of AFRICOM, right? AFRICOM. What does that sound to you like? AFRICOM, like Africa. You know, Africa. Well, AFRICOM is nothing to do with Africa.com. It's U.S. Africa Command. That's the meaning of it, not Africa.com. I know when you hear AFRICOM, you think it's some Africans running security stuff. No, it's not. It's U.S. African Command. So they could just call it, but I don't know why they removed the U.S. part. Why they don't say U.S. AFRICOM? They don't say that because does it sound good? It doesn't sound good at all. No. U.S. AFRICOM. It doesn't sound good. Like, why do you have U.S. AFRICOM in Botswana? Why do you have you know what I mean? But AFRICOM sounds like you have It's like the way they do, you know, some Europeans will open a company in Africa and call it Tabo's Clemmer Center, Tabo's Medical Center. You think it's Tabo or Makumbo's, but it's not. If you check the owner well, it's nothing to do with Makumbos and Tabos and Tabisos and Malulas. Absolutely not. It's a very good strategy. So AFRICOM, it's actually US Africa Command. Let's continue. Now, if you ask yourself a question to find out, like you have a general for African Command by the United States of America, but it's not white, he's black. Why not choose a white man? I mean, like, a black man would feel to you like he just wants some good things for you. I mean, after all, you're all black, so I wouldn't want bad things for you. Is it strategic, or do you think it's just by mistake that Mr. Langley happened to be black and the chief of US AFRICOM? Let's continue. Now, Mr. Langley also clarified that AFRICOM is not seeking a permanent base in Kenya, only expanding its runway at Manda Bay for enhanced capability. Hold on to that. It's not seeking for permanent base in Kenya, meaning they have a base, right? Good, we're together. Let's continue. So yes, the USA or Africa have a common military base with Kenya. What's the goal of it? The goal is to strengthen counter-terrorism effort. Manda Bay is located in Lamu County near Somalia, hosts a US-Kenyan military base critical for operations against Al-Shabaab, an Al-Qaeda affiliated group. Langley visits it from time to time, and in 2025, in May especially, he went to visit. What's the goal of it? The goal of this is just simply to enhance joint counter-terrorism operation, including training Kenyan forces and improving intelligence serving with Kenyans. Now, this is what Mr. Langley had to say. They asked him a few questions. I mean, he went to Kenya and was hosted by some journalists, and he was asked some questions about Ibrahim Traoré, right? You remember Langley from Ibrahim Traoré. This is what he said about Traoré in the beginning?
Absolutely, Chairman. I see this, and I don't mind calling them out, but Captain Traoré and Burkina Faso, as they know that both whether it's their gold reserves, that is all those proceeds are just in exchange to protect the junta regime. There's a number of examples across.
You see that? Okay, now let me get you up to date. This is what he said in Kenya a couple of days ago. Watch.
Rule rather than for public welfare. These remarks sparked widespread, condemnation across the continent. What did you mean by that statement?
Let me speak to Burkina Faso's sovereignty. They maintain their sovereignty. They make their decisions how they use their resources. They make their decisions who their resources go to for military support.
Okay, let me just remind you here that he said that Burkina Faso was misusing the resources. The gold is used for their own purpose, talking about the leadership of Burkina Faso, and the people are not profiting from it. In other words, people of Burkina Faso are not seeing anything at all. So there's no road being built, there's no hospitals, there's no schools being built, nothing at least from the gold. But it looks like we're seeing road being built and hospitals, and it's a bit controversial. And Ibrahim Traoré said, if it's gold being used, is it your gold?
By claiming that Burkina Faso's mineral resources as well as certain revenues from cooperation with the People's Republic of China might not be beneficial to the population and might rather serve to protect the regime in power, General Langley is taking a stand, deliberately ignoring this new sovereignty momentum of Burkina Faso. Such unsubstantial, unfounded, and eminently political comments are all the more worrying because they were made within a parliamentary body as prestigious as the US Senate by a senior military official.
It's our gold, right? Now he's justifying that. They may use what they want to use the way they want to use. Let's continue.
That's their sovereign right. But my cautionary tale was just from a military perspective. That was a Senate Armed Services Committee asking me a direct question.
Okay, it was just from a military perspective, nothing to do with anything else. But then why make a comment about a person? Yeah, then it sounds like you are attacking his reputation. Let's continue.
Burkina Faso, a lot of great things going on to progress them forward, okay? But then when you look at the military part of it, knowing that that's the epicenter of global terrorism, it was my time to illuminate that this is probably their weakest point, and there needs to be sufficient resources going towards for the whole fight of terrorism in that country.
Burkina Faso, the epicenter of terrorism. Interesting.
Period. They make their decisions, though. That's their sovereignty, their sovereign right to make their decisions, what is appropriate, what's not. But I wanted to illuminate that it's going in the wrong direction now. ISIS is getting stronger. JNIM is getting stronger. Al-Qaeda in the lands of the Maghreb is getting stronger in that country.
Okay, so Mr. Langley elaborates saying that he was talking on a military perspective, like ISIS is getting stronger, JNIM is getting stronger, all these terrorist groups are getting stronger. Burkina Faso is the epicenter of terrorism right now. And on the military perspective, they are not very strong. And what should we do then? Well, then some people will say, then why would make a comment about the gold? I mean, if it's about war, then why are you talking about the gold? Now, some people make some comment about this. Let's read some of the comments that was made. The comments are very harsh, but we're going to read them, okay? Number one says, Nabila, why doesn't he worry about black boys in America being murdered by the police? ISIS and all terrorist groups are funded by US. Oh, he should never speak of Africa and Africans. He's not one of and has no good intentions. Okay, that's very harsh to say. The other person says he's talking nonsense. Burkina Faso is a victim of terrorist activity, not a perpetrator of it. It started with NATO bombing of Libya in 2011, and after the country was overrun by terrorist group, which then spread throughout Sahel and West Africa. That's obviously, this sir is mentioning what's happened with Gaddafi. Before, there was no terrorists, at least not the way it is today, until they wanted to overthrow Gaddafi. After overthrowing Gaddafi, which was done by bringing in people that became later on what you call terrorists, they came down to the south, leaving Libya as a failed country, and they continue doing terrorism in other places. In other words, France and Obama administration brought in some guys that look like Gaddafi people to overthrow Gaddafi. Those are the people that became the terrorists that you're fighting today. So he's saying, this gentleman is saying at least, that you shouldn't be speaking about this. Next comment. This person, high class, say you're a liar. I mean, this is just you're a liar. You can see this is the sentiment of mostly Kenyans and in broad spectrum Africans. The other person says, why are you concerned about African countries? The first person said, why isn't he concerned about black boys in America being murdered by the police? Is this a reality? This is a reality, surely. Okay, that's also something that's in the attention. We see it every day on TV, right? It's a reality. This other guy named Prophilic Talking, he said, why is a local Kenyan TV station rolling out the red carpet to General Michael Langley, a man whose legacy screams enemy of African sovereignty? Have we sunk so deep into Western puppetry that we now glorify our own oppressors on national platforms? So this man feels like General Langley was given very soft questions, and he was able to shine after all he said about Ibrahim Traoré and all the stuff that they're doing. As much as it sounds like a junta, but is the junta doing good things for the people? Is the junta building schools for the people? Is the junta building hospitals, financing orphans and widows whom are losing their lives at front fighting terrorism? Is the junta bringing in intelligence? Well, there's another question here. It's not really about that. It feels like the junta has turned to Russia. That's the problem. So it's not really about the junta, it's about what's the junta doing. Hasn't America supported anybody that wasn't necessarily democratically elected? It has happened in the past. Why isn't this one lacked very much? Well, because this one is very open to China and Russia. Perhaps. Is that a reason? Now, let's find out. What is AFRICOM? Okay, what's the goal of AFRICOM in Africa? Aren't Africans able to defend themselves? Let's find out. Who created AFRICOM? The U.S. Africa Command was officially established in February 6, 2007, when President George W. Bush announced its creation. It became fully operational as a unified combatant command in October 2008, assuming responsibilities for the U.S. military operation and relation across Africa. Are they really in Africa for Africans, or to fight terrorism? Let's ask the computer and find out. What does the computer say? Well, the computer say that the creation of AFRICOM coincided with increasing Chinese and Russia influence in Africa. Wow. Chinese and Russia influence in Africa, particularly in resources-rich region. The US sought to counter this by deepening military and diplomatic ties with African nations. Okay, so the way of countering Chinese and Russians is deepen a relationship with Africans. In order for them, let's continue reading what the computer says. Securing access to strategic resources like oil and mineral, and maintaining influence in key regions like Sahel and East Africa. So it's not necessarily, fellas, about let's fight terrorism. Okay, as much as that could be one of the reasons, multiple reasons, it's influence. Okay, influence, power, presence, control. Okay, we need to, I don't know why Africans need to be controlled. Why do we need to be controlled? Either by United States of America, Russia, or China. Can't Africans bring their capabilities together and just deal with these people from the distance? I mean, sovereignty is sovereignty. We cannot come to America, in Mexico, whether Georgia next to Russia, trying to do military stuff. And no, we don't do that. I understand they are perhaps advanced compared to us, but we don't need babysitters. We don't need that, because history has shown us that colonizers came from those places and it wasn't for our good. Are they really in Africa for just terrorism? Listen to what Langley said to the senator.
Where, we need to be able to do information operations to illuminate some of the irregularities and some of the malign type activities of the Chinese in African countries.
Did you hear what he said? Straight from the horse mouth. So it's not just about terrorism. It's about countering the other guys. Let me know how you feel about this. Let me just remind you here that, when Russia started the war, okay, when they responded to war, however you want to call it, when Russia started the military operation, I don't care where you are, Russia was accused at the United Nations, and many people, including the US, wanted to vote against Russia. And how many African countries voted against Russia? Not many. Many of the people, the representative, got out of the room because they did not want to vote for Russia. And that's when America realized that it was losing its influence, its positive influence in Africa. Is this part of the broad spectrum of trying to regain Africans' good hearts and sympathy by organizing all these trainings and meetings and stuff like that? Let me know how you feel about this. It's always a great pleasure. But what was clear here that Kenyans were not happy about the presence of Langley in Kenya. And also, before we leave, Tony Blair is in Kenya right now. He went to meet the president, William Ruto. Tony Blair is one of the guys that they didn't want Gaddafi to be alive, no doubt about that. Tony Blair is one of the guys that went to Iraq and Afghanistan and created mayhem. Tony Blair is one of the guys that fought consistently with Robert Mugabe over lands and riches and stuff. Let me know how you feel about this. It was a great pleasure. God bless. Oh, before you go, make sure you do this. Is it done?